Little trigger light.
Oh, yeah.
Got in the truck, started, they spent $508 and $2 for a big diesel truck. I said, you want to be a diesel truck? Do you have any vehicles to replace like this year?
Yes. But if we had the answer from the community, I think they come here.
Did it mind yet?
They do, I put that on them. This may be coming.
That's actually my.
Hey, Richard. All right. Good, man. Yeah, here to see you. And somebody else. No, that's fine. We're going here in a few minutes.
I'm up in that place across from the tree, you know.
You staying in Raleigh tonight?
Yes, sir, I am.
Because I think it's like whatever she wants to talk about.
Imagine this dude.
There, she's across the hall.
Okay.
We end up from, we have a late meal for them before the meeting. Sometimes it's a little late. So we haven't talked until morning. We have a legislative meeting first Tuesday morning. This is a work session where they can talk
How are you?
and then we throw, if they agree on some things, we throw it on consent for the next meeting. One vote does it all. That's what this is.
They have all those, documents and everything that we, went over.
They got the cloud, the big, we bring the big ones.
Yeah.
That's the contract.
Okay.
Which y'all probably working with.
I just wanna make sure when I talk about it, they know what I'm.
Oh, yeah. Let me grab my book too if they have that.
Okay.
Everybody's receipts and making sure I got enough money on there for when they come in and they didn't use some. Yeah. Sitting there thinking, you know, I'm not complaining, just it's just.
The only one thing, I think it would be all good, I didn't see like the most, like the latest invoice or something to look at.
The one you did, we got that.
The, like the one that y'all have for this, like
When you took
January.
the numbers off of.
Yes, sir.
2009, you put it, you did that one?
I'll talk about it.
We do have that comprehensive that you made. You're like,
Okay.
I had
I
never
think
heard
that's
that.
good, I mean, it's good that we have the 2021 numbers, I think that's good, as long as since the last time, a lot changed over the course of the 3 years, that I think will paint a clear picture to understand
Yeah, so we've got that,
everything.
yeah, that spreadsheet that shows 21 versus 24. Picture of everything out of the network thing, and then she has your.
Okay, that'd probably be the one that will probably, so I can talk about it. There's obviously a bigger difference, I think, the most current one is the walk them through kind of.
Okay. You know, this contract started at that, gradually increased. It didn't jump from here to there, that's what I.
Right, yeah.
So then it went to here for different reasons. Then it jumped to here, then it jumped to here, so it's not double, it's like
Okay.
2,000 years.
That's good, that's perfect, I didn't want to kind of think, be like, yeah, we're jumping, jacking her up. Exactly, just to be like, hold on, no.
Only 2% of this increase is from y'all, the rest of it is driven by the city.
Yeah.
98% of this is real
growth,
growth.
yeah.
We driving this price with cars, vehicles, support, all this stuff for PD, so. You get job. You'll get a question.
All good. All right, cool. Thank you,
How we doing?
On that, Leo? Okay. That'd be, okay. Left, right. Okay.
Oh, it's on, let's put the batteries in that. You jump 20, and you'll set there.
Point this out, right?
You just kind of briefly overdo it.
Next slide.
Yep, and the other side.
That's really, that's what I want. Everything else, like, please, that kind of.
YouTube is good? Let's.
How you doing? Hey, Commissioner Lucas.
call this meeting to order. Tonight, our invitation will be done by Mayor Pro Tem, Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Albright. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Please join me. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us gather in your name tonight and do the business of CREEDMOOR. Thank you for letting us arrive safely and hopefully get home safely. Thank you for the citizens of CREEDMOOR that add so much to this city, and we hope that they appreciate the hard work that this board does in their name. Thank you to our staff that do an outstanding job every single day, and we probably don't thank them enough. Bless us all. Watch over those who are sick. Find healing for them. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand with me and say the pledge. Fred. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A couple of things first before we get started. Please, everybody in the gallery and on the board, silence your cell phones if you would, please. And first order of business, of course, is to, before we do roll call, is to welcome back Commissioner Ed Gleason. We are happy to have you back. I'm sure Peggy will be glad to get you out of the house once in a while.
Coming back to get you, or is she gonna let you walk?
You're gonna come back and get me. Okay, just make sure. All right, City Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Way.
Present.
Commissioner Gleason.
Present.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Present.
Commissioner Albright.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Kaczynski.
Present?
Mayor Wheeler.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We do have enough for a quorum. We'll move on down to approval of the agenda. Is there any changes or additions that need to be added?
Mr. Mayor, I have one I'd like to add, tax evaluation.
All right, where do you want to put that?
Put that in 5G if you want.
All right, 5G will be discussion item of tax evaluation.
Say tax evasion?
All right, any other additions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Did you have one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me get, yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Robert.
No, let me run the
Okay.
meeting.
All right, sorry. Well, I was just trying to be polite because I didn't.
Yeah, that's all right.
I would just like to add that I have a date that I'd like to be excused.
All right, we'll make that, FG 5H. Commissioner Albright. Absence. All right. Commissioner Way.
I'd like to add on here the recent fire department's payment for the work that was done on Elm Street, to have the board discuss about reimbursing the department back so that money can go towards firefighting gear.
Elm Street, repair, fire department. That'd be all right? Scribble volunteer, fire department. All right, any other changes or additions? Not hearing any, not seeing any lights go off. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the 3 items that were added.
So moved. Mr. Gleason.
Commissioner Wilkins has made the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. It's good to say that again. All right, we move on now. Hang on just 1 second, please. We move on to 5A, Parks and Recreation Department Projects Update. Mr. Mishaw, I believe that's you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, thank you for having me. Tonight, I am going to give you a presentation on some updates on some projects we have going on and the programming for the rest of the year. So the first thing we will talk about and discuss is the multi-sport and event plaza. Excuse me, gather my thoughts again. So pretty much what is left at this point is to coordinate with Steve in Public Works to put a acrylic surfacing on the court. It's a three-step process of, as you see, an acrylic adhesion promoter, an acrylic resurfacer, and a neutral concentrate with sand. This is weather dependent. We need probably at least 3 days above 50 degrees, and not just 50 degrees. If we get a week of warm weather and it's raining all week, obviously his guys can't do it. So we'll need some nice weather to get that done. Once that is completed, we will get the court striped. I spoke with the old director, Chris, and he said he received a quote from North State to stripe the court for $900. I was not able to sign that quote. However, I did reach out to them myself, and the quote is indeed for $900. I'm currently waiting to set up a meeting with Court 1, get a quote for them so we can at least have two quotes to see who has the best price. I don't expect that to exceed $900. The basketball boarding safety padding, that's going to go on the 8x8 timbers that are out there, just for extra protection. Those have been ordered. I placed that order a few weeks ago. I checked with the company last week, and they're custom pads, so were hoped to be completed last week, and then they will be shipped out. I'm not sure the timetable for that, but I will be in communication with the company for that. This is an illustration of what the gas looks like. And at any time, if you guys have any questions, please ask it. Any questions on this so far?
Real quick, are these going to be permanent pads out there, or will we take them down in the wintertime, or?
I believe the plan is to be permanent. So
Okay.
once they're installed, they will stay there.
Okay.
And they won't be subject to weather?
They will be subject to weather. I think it's very similar to like a football goalpost. Usually with football, you take them down and put them up. But these are going to have to be installed in a way where they can't just be taken off, if that makes sense.
So if they get worn from the weather, we will have to replace them?
At some point, yes, we would have to replace them. And I'm not sure the life cycle of these, but they will have to be replaced at some point.
Mr. City Manager, did we approve this?
I'd have to look back at the files and see. This was just it could have been an add-on safety item because of the sharp corners on those 8x8 cross ties.
Right.
That we needed to put something in there for children and people who might run and try to make a layup and fall across the background, but.
Do we have any idea how much this is gonna cost?
I have it, I believe it was budgeted for, it should have already been paid for.
That's why I'm asking if we've already approved it.
Well, it depends on the cost. I talked to Chris about this months before he got, he ordered them before he left here. So they had to make them to fit this formation here. But,
So you think they fell within your purview?
I'm sure they did, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
so-
sure they did, yeah.
And I can get you the price on them. We're transitioning now to the Senior Center Wildlife Garden. I reached out to the Granville Gardeners Club, asked them if they would partner with us and kind of adopt it. They declined that option. So at the community center now, we partner with Falls Lake for their Academy Employment Preparation Program. So we have 2 to 3 students that come every week, try to give them some on-job training, so they help out around the community center. Mr. Wilkerson in that class has graciously agreed to plant flowers at the very front of the building to kind of beautify that area.
On the island?
Not on the island. So if you're walking into the community center, right there to the left, like the little library, it's just an area that there's nothing there right now. So I think it could use some beautification. going back to the garden. Mr. Wilkerson has put me in contact with Mr. Logan at Falls Lake to potentially form a partnership with one of his classes to come out and beautify the garden. Those talks are still ongoing at this time. Some additional options would be potentially partner with South Granville High School. We also have the option of Boys and Girl Scouts. And in our own senior center in our building, it's not our senior center, but the county senior center in our building, there are a few seniors that are master gardeners that may want to participate and help out with the garden.
Mr. Kaczynski.
So at South Granville High School, we've got the future farmers in 4-H. So, Mr. Logan, do you know who to reach out to at South Granville?
I don't, but Jimmy with Public Works told me a contact. I don't have the name with me. I think he spoke with her.
Okay.
He told me she declined, but I wanted to reach out to her personally.
And the Rotary Club who did the front garden in front of the senior center, they don't want us to get involved again?
I haven't reached out to them, so that is an option.
Okay, well, if it comes down to we're gonna rip those flowers out of the ground, I will do it myself, because I put those flowers in, and I don't want to see them ripped back out of the ground. There's that.
Moving on to the BC Roberts Field update. Pre-emergent and post-emergent is hopefully will be applied this week. The PO has already been put in to purchase those chemicals. I'm going to spray it myself. Fertilization and aeration will occur once the grass is out of dormancy. Once it's growing, we'll apply fertilizer to it and aerate the field. Recommendations from Nolan Thomas was the contractor who installed the field, are to limit the rentals and heavy usage until the summertime to see how the grass responds. His reasoning for that was that field was seeded. It wasn't sodded or sprigged, which would help the roots establish quicker. So when you go from seed, the roots are thin, it takes a little bit longer to establish itself. We hope that the grass is growing great to start allowing rentals during this summer.
So now we're from spring into summer. We were told April last year.
His recommendation to me was to hold off on rentals for right now. Once it comes out of dormancy, we can kind of see how that fills in. Like right now, there's a lot of weeds on the field.
It's not your fault, I understand that. It's just that last year, when we were talking about fundraising and sponsorships and all that stuff, April was the date that we got, so now we're going into summer. What's wrong with weather? Like the 3 days for the painting, you can't.
I just want you to understand, like, right now, there's a lot of weeds on the field, right? So when I spray it out, it's gonna look worse before it looks better. You know, you gotta crack a couple of eggs to make omelets, so it's gonna look worse for a little bit.
Make an omelet?
It's gonna look worse for a little bit, but then, as it comes out of dormancy, we give it a good fertilizer, it should start thriving.
Do we have to pay Mr. Thomas again?
No, not unless we have him come and do some work. So we'll move on to our programming and events update. These are some of the programs we have for February. A new program called Total Tot Time. It's for toddlers ages 1 to 5. A preschool program called Hearts Galore. And fitness classes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and a couple Saturdays.
Can you just elaborate on the first two?
Can you repeat that?
Can you elaborate on the first two?
So Total Tot Time is just, it's kind of like open gym for toddlers. We got the blue blocks. We got some other toys that we put out in the gym. So it just allows toddlers to come in and pretty much have playtime for an hour, interact with other kids. First week we had 5 kids come. Because as you'll see on the next slide, I have a picture from last week. We had quite the turnout. The kids just kept coming and coming. I was like, where are all these kids coming from?
That's why we need a playground. There's children out there.
Yes, there's a lot of children out there. This was a picture from last week. This is kind of what Total Tot Time looks like. So we put out these different things and just allow the kids to go in the gym with their parents. And what?
I have a question, sir. Do they have to sign like any kind of like little waiver, or do their parents have to stay in there and watch them, like it's not like a drop off in?
Correct. It's not a babysitting service.
Yeah.
So their parents do have to stay with them. When they come in, they check in as guests and sign the waiver. This was the preschool program, which last week followed the Total Tot Time. They did an arts and crafts, read a book, had a snack, and danced and played around a little bit. We had capacity for 12 kids. We had 11 registered, so pretty much met capacity. Moving on to March, we'll continue the Total Tot Time. We're starting an intro to pickleball class, which is an 8-week session. That is completely full with 12 participants. We actually have a waiting list. We have a few people on the waiting list. Super Shamrock is another preschool program. We'll do a St. Patrick's themed pickleball, March Mayhem between the CREEDMOOR Police Department and the Graham County Sheriff's Office. Great prizes there. I was kind of blown away by what they have planned for that night, without giving too much away. We'll have our Easter egg hunt at Lake Rogers on March 23rd. We have a paint and sip class. I think they're painting a cow.
I'm gonna sign me up right now for that one. Especially the sip part.
There will be no alcohol at this one.
Well, take her name off it.
And again, we'll have fitness classes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and some Saturdays. I believe for March, we have them on all the Saturdays except the one that we're closed for the Wedding Expo. We'll have refit for 3 Saturdays and a new Pilates class. Yes, Emma.
On the March 15th date, what time is that pickleball?
I believe it's from 6 to 8 p.m. or 6 to 9 p.m.
At night?
Yes, it is in the evening.
So the intro to pickleball, you said is all signed up already?
It was completely full 2 weeks. But then like 2 weeks of posting it filled up.
Where'd you post it, down there?
We have a newsletter on Facebook, and of course we have it in Rec Desk.
Okay.
News spread fast.
I'm waiting. Am I getting on this?
Oh, you're on it.
Oh,
You signed yourself up. You got signed up. You were like the 3rd or 4th person to sign up, and then right after that, completely full. Any other questions on March? Moving on to April, again, we'll do Total Tot Time on Wednesdays. I forgot to add, going back to March, and I didn't put it on this slide, but we will do a Total Tot Time on a Saturday just to allow parents who aren't able to come during the week potentially bring their kids on a Saturday morning.
That should be fun.
April, again, Total Tot Time. We're going to try to bring back First Fridays. We'll have bingo. Intro to pickleball will still be going on during April. We'll have our Earth Day arts and craft preschool class. We're in the process of setting up a certified babysitting class for really open to anyone, but I think it's 11 and up to get certified, and that's via the Red Cross. We'll have a bio blitz out at Lake Rogers, Operation Medicine Drop, and again, fitness classes. Any questions on April? Going to May, again, Total Tot Time. We'll have a Mother's Day tea for our preschool program. We'd like to do a movie in the park, Cinco de Mayo fiesta, and again, fitness classes during the week and on Saturday. And to wrap up the fiscal year, in June, Total Tot Time, going fishing out of Lake Rogers. First Friday, we'll do cornhole. Preschool program that month would be Dino Day. Like to do another movie in the park. We'll have a Juneteenth celebration. And And the daddy-daughter dance the date for that is to be determined, and again, we'll have fitness class. Mike, I believe this is for you. Steph.
All right, are there any other questions for Dennis before I fill you in on the veterans?
Dennis, thank you for doing this calendar so far in advance. I have been afraid that we weren't advertising enough ahead of stuff, and I've seen other cities do their stuff, and I didn't want to be behind, and thank you so much. I love it.
No problem. And the newsletter will be coming out shortly for March, and they'll have a lot of April's programs in there to go ahead and try to be at least 2 months in advance.
Mr. Albright.
I don't know if it's just my old eyes, but I have a hard time seeing some of the things on the digital sign outside the, thing. Yeah.
The thing outside.
Yeah. Is there a way like to make the font maybe a little bigger?
So a couple weeks ago, we came in one morning and that sign was blank. Do you remember how the old time used to look?
Yes.
Came in one morning, it had like 3, I think, black dots or red dots, and it was just blank. Not sure what happened. I don't know if it was a weather situation. So to answer your question, I don't know.
Okay.
When Cheyenne was uploading some of the programs to it, that was the only thing that she could get it to do at
I just
that
know
time.
some of them are pretty small.
Yeah, we're trying to put a lot of information on there, so maybe we scale back some of that information
I think that's it.
to make it, it's not so small. But I would definitely look into that.
And one more thing, I know last night, Frank Sossman had mentioned about getting our MLKs together, like Butner, CREEDMOOR, STEM, whoever does those kind of events, so that more of the representatives could attend those, because they have a hard time bouncing around from thing to thing, and they want to participate in these things, so maybe that's just something that you could, because I was I thought maybe that would be something if we wanted to get together with Butner or MLK.
I thought that we already had that worked out between us and Oxford. I don't know that Butner does.
Well, the
Yeah,
HRC,
there was only two.
the last one, we had the Martin Luther King breakfast, and ours went from 8 to 10 last year and this year. But this year, the HRC moved their program up from 12 to 10. So that's what he was talking about. People have to leave one and rush like crazy to get to the other one. It is nuts. But if you could like communicate to the other municipalities and the county HRC group that we will always have breakfast and it'll always be from here to here, then they could coordinate the rest of it.
So just to make sure I understand, we're talking about staggering times, right?
Well,
The issues-
coordinating with other municipalities so that we don't overstep each other.
And the reason we were doing the breakfast and the time it was going on was so that they had an hour, hour and a half after we finished to make it to Oxford. And then Oxford bumped theirs down. So, they just need to bump it back up is basically what it works out. Mr. Gleason.
I'm on the Human Rights Commission in the county.
We have a Human Rights Commission?
Human
Resources.
Resources Committee.
Okay.
And
Relations.
for the last 2 years, they have not had a breakfast because the church where they hold it did not have the crew that did it.
Right.
Next year, they're talking about reestablishing the breakfast. So if they reestablish the breakfast, then I agree there should be some thought that we make sure that we don't interact with either one of them.
We had our breakfast first.
Last year, we had this year and last year, we had our breakfast first, and people were able to leave here and get to Oxford by 11 or 12. Next year, like I say, if they don't have a breakfast, not gonna affect anything.
Right.
If they do, then we're gonna have to think it somehow, either on their end or our end. But Butner, I don't think in STEM, they don't have anything.
I will make a
And I'll
note.
get back on that one.
We need to have some discussion on that because since they discontinued theirs, we started having ours. I'm not sure we're the ones that
No, I don't think
need
we
to
should
adjust.
either.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anything else for Dennis? Dennis, as always, thank you, sir. Doing an excellent job.
Good job.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to give the board a quick update on the Veterans Memorial. The next picture you're going to see here in just a moment is the monument. It is sitting in the shop where it was cut from, of course, a lot larger piece of stone. It's in two pieces. You can see the reflection of the workers in the face of the monument there. It's currently en route. It's being shipped to the South Boston Memorial Company in Virginia from the supplier, and upon arrival, it will be scheduled to be engraved and the mounting of the 6 military medallions. So it's en route. It won't be much longer, but we just have to wait and kind of see, and they'll let us know. The other thing I'd like to bring you up to date on is the Veterans Memorial Plaza. To date, the CREEDMOOR Veterans Organization has raised $4,357 of the $66,000 needed for the Veterans Plaza. They're continuing to push the bricks, they're continuing to push the banners, asking for donations. The last meeting, I believe, was canceled, so I don't have an update as far as where they are with that, but I wanted to let y'all know that's where they are fundraising-wise. Any questions?
Any questions for the City Manager? Not seeing any. Thank you, sir. Let me make a quick note of something. Okay. We'll move down to item 5B, VC3 Information Technology Master Services Agreement. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The VC3 Information Technology Master Services Agreement is going to expire in March. We've had several meetings. We do have monthly meetings every month with our IT director, we call him, Richard Avant, who's in the audience, and we'll be making some comments and taking questions in a few minutes. So this contract was entered in 2018. It was renewed in 2021, and it's coming up for renewal again. There's a spreadsheet on the next, if you go to the spreadsheet, Ms. Rouse, there's a spreadsheet I wanted to run over to show you what these increases are coming from. And it's broken into 3 categories: Virtual Office Advantage, or VOA. Yes, ma'am. So in the VSO, the first line there on the very top, this is a 2021 number. They're comparing it to the 2024. It's going from $3,291 to $5,067, or a $1,700 increase. If you come down to the Services Advantage line, which is about a third of the way down, that line's increasing from $2,656 to $6,500, or $3,912 increase. The other licensing line, which is about another 3/3 to 2/3 down, is going from $312 to $1,580, or $1,268, for a total increase over. This is a total increase from 2021 to 24 of $6,956 per month. The majority of this increase is driven by the city's request, adding the take-home vehicles for PD, CAD integration expenses, and other things. It's predominantly all PD. If I take you to, in 2021, the contract I mentioned was $62.59 per month. In 2022, that contract increased to $7,800. In 23, $8,600. In 2024 to $10,896 per month. That's what it is now per month. So the actual increase is going up about $2,000 and change. But again, and Troy can speak to this if you have questions of PD, this is driven by the addition of the take-home cars, the support of the equipment, the CAD integration system. There's 2 other recommendations that VC3 had that are not costing us anything from VC3. They're recommending we upgrade the Spectrum Internet service from cable to fiber optic to increase speed, and that charge from Spectrum would go from $169 to $625. but again, it would tremendously increase our speed. The other recommendation was to move our data storage area from City Hall to the VC3 Data Center for increased security and data protection at no cost to the city of Creedmoor. Before I turn this over to Richard, are there any questions about what I've just covered?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mike, you said Spectrum 169 to 625, is that a month or a year?
Per month.
No, Spectrum is just fiber optic.
It's for our internet service. Fiber optic is in the street, they're gonna have to pull it into the building and make that connection for us.
And how long is that number guaranteed? That's Spectrum, it's not guaranteed at all, there's no contract. Right?
Sarah, is there a contract with Spectrum? I would think it would be, yeah. Richard's gonna handle this connection.
It's not like they do me. We signed up for $49.99 and now it's $74.99.
No, so this would be a total, change of how y'all's internet is. So y'all currently have cable, it'll be a fiber optic connection. So this isn't them just being like, hey, here's the new bill. There's new stuff that comes with installation fee and all that, not included. They're waiving that. So
I'm sorry.
that increase is what it's, I'm the one that's been dealing with them right now, so I've been fighting them off.
So before I turn Richard loose, I'm sorry.
Do me a favor and identify yourself and who you're with, just for the
Yes,
record.
sir. Richard Avant, with VC3, I'm a strategic advisor. Appreciate everybody coming to speak here today, too.
All right,
So, if I may.
Go ahead.
So, to give you a little history and some of the information I just read, what I've just handed out is the original contract date, 3 years, and you see it started off at $64.81. That one-time fee was charged $13,000, one time only for that very first year in 2018. So you can see 19 and 20 gradually came up. Then we entered into a 3-year renewal for 3 years from 22 to 24, that's where we are today. The last invoice received is exactly that amount, $10,896. The second 3-year renewal is the $13,215.55. The numbers on the spreadsheet that I went over with you are those represented there and the increases of each. And the footnote, I mentioned those a minute ago. But I wanted the board to understand this is not jumping, it's not jumping from $62.59 to $13,215. Due to requests that we have made to VC3 over the years, there's a gradual per month increase in this contract. So it's actually about a 2,000 and change increase from where we are today, where we would be if we renew. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Richard Avant with VC3. Richard?
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate y'all letting me come and speak today. We've been partners with CREEDMOOR for a while now, providing IT support. Been working with Mike and Sarah on getting this together and ultimately present it here to you today. I know there's a lot of acronyms on there, so feel free if you need to ask me what VOA stands for or whatnot. I'm sure we'll get a couple of those. So I'm happy to go over them. So Mike hit on it for the most part. The big jump, the big leap. So what you're looking at on the screen right now, that's the last invoice that y'all received from us for that $10,895. The renewal will increase this cost up to $13,215. And where that difference comes from, majority of it is just increase in seat counts from like 2021, we were going to 2024. I think Mike hit on that. I think there was like 12 seats, now there's 19. Being now at the PD department, I think it was 18, now it's 32. And certain costs have changed over time, given in the market. Microsoft has their prices that they put out. And we work off those vendor pricing, and people above me make the pricing for what we would provide. So is there any of these numbers that kind of stick out or questions that y'all want me to kind of go over off rip to start with? And happy to answer anything.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Richard, you are new to us in VC3 because we had somebody else. I was here in 2019 when this last
Okay.
contract was signed. So when we signed the contract that I remember, it was $68.76 a month. And I understand adding new users and CAD systems and adding more systems to it jack the price up, and it's our issues that these price increases happened. But if we enter into a contract with you and tell you we're gonna pay $800 a year, I just don't remember anybody ever telling us, when we add these police cars, you're gonna have 8 more users than before, 8 new laptops, there's gonna be more. And I know it wasn't you. I know that. But I don't remember anybody ever telling us, oh, by the way, the VC3 contract's now gonna go up, gonna go up, gonna go up, gonna go up. When we had a previous city manager, he brought us documentation for upgrading equipment inside the building, switches, all kinds of stuff, to the tune of $27,000 of replacements and new wiring, and mostly switches, from what I understand, and what I remember. If we go to a fiber optic system, 2 questions. All this hardwire equipment crap that's in our building is gonna go away, is that right?
So there's 2 parts of it. The meaning for the upgrade of speeds, not just to have general speed updates out here, which has been a complaint in the past. The big connection is between here and our data center in Atlanta. To move that equipment that you're talking about that's on site here, virtualize that in our data center in Atlanta. The way everybody works in VOA right now, even in the police department, nothing would change from y'all's end from a user standpoint. It would be less equipment here. It's, you know, this building was a collapse, and all your IT equipment's in it. This will be able to keep its uptime 100%. You'd be able to work from home or wherever. So one part of the spectrum bill going up is to be able to swing all that data into our Atlanta data center. And we would cover the hardware cost as well because it's living in our data center. If you were to keep y'all's current internet, we wouldn't be able to swing into the data center. We could come up with a new proposal to upgrade the current servers that are on site because they are out of date, they are needing updating. They're a security risk right now. And those, you're probably looking at an ESX host that hosts, I think, like 4 servers on it. I mean, you're probably looking, this is just head math right here, like $20,000 worth of hardware that would live here to upgrade those servers.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, I think back in 2020, I wasn't here in 2020.
Right, I know.
And at the time, the idea was like, all right, we're gonna get everything, we're gonna move it into the data center. The internet providers at the time could not provide strong enough connection to be able to make that swing into the data center. So everything has lived here, it's lived on site. It's now become to a point where it's got to be updated at the time of a renewal. Let's swing it into our data center now that internet in the area is capable of pushing that data to Atlanta and get everything updated, upgraded, patched up, security risks down.
So now we have a VoIP telephone system, which we did not have in 2019. Is this change going to affect that? Or is there new stuff we have to do to the VoIP phone system?
No, ma'am. They're VoIP, so they're voice over IP, internet. You just need an internet connection for a voice over IP phone.
Now I'm going to turn it over to the 2 experts down on the end of the...
Before you do that, I've got a quick question. You said if our building collapses, we're safe because all our information is going to be in Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
What happens?
That's what we want it to do. Right now, it's backed up. It's backed up somewhere currently. So, like, if your building collapsed, the environment's down. The data's still backed up externally off-site from here. So,
if your building collapses.
we have a rollover one, I believe, in Texas. We have two, we might have gotten even more at this point. Last time I remember was 7-2, but Atlanta's the closest one here.
Just wanted to be sure
Yeah.
that.
If that goes down, we have a lot of problems.
Okay, Mr. Gleason, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. First of all, I guess this is a question for our financial officer. We sign a multi-year contract with these guys. And again, based on the number of seats or computers that we have, there's a specific monthly retainer, basically,
Yes, sir. So
for each computer.
you add an employee.
And whatever. In my business, which is the same as yours, we don't do towns, we do law firms. We have a ticket system so that anytime we enter into a building or enter into a computer or whatever, that we document it. And the law firm or whatever, although we have a contract and a retainers and whatever, at the end of the year, they get to compare how much time we actually spent on that computer that we're charging $130 a month to manage. And we find they say, over 4 years, you haven't never been in that computer. First of all, the question is, do we get anything from VC3 that documents what they did each month?
No, but I believe every time we call, it's logged on their side, where we get monthly just the invoice for that period of time.
All right, so we don't know if Barbara called and said, my computer's not working. You may document the call that she called and said her computer wasn't working. But we don't get anything from VC3 that says they fixed their computer, they upgraded the software, they added a memory module, they did something to that computer. So we don't have a...
So when we create a ticket, you get an email of that ticket being started, and the information is related through that email chain until that ticket is closed. But I believe if we were to contact VC3 for a more detailed report, that they would provide.
So you get no kind of hourly statement of what they've done every month? The next question is, upgrading our hardwire internet service with Spectrum now to fiber. You're not gonna charge us anything to put our equipment in your data center, but we're gonna be paying $8,000 a year for faster internet. So it's not like we're getting anything for you guys for nothing. It's gonna cost us $800 a year. $8,000 some dollars a year to be able to create a pipe that's fast enough to be able to do that.
Correct.
So it's not like there's no cost to us to put our equipment in your data center. It may be, I agree, better, for safety. Maybe, I don't know better backups. I don't know what the town uses for a backup server now. Is it through you guys?
Yes, sir.
So we're already backing up to your equipment. My concern is that we just look into the fact that we're going into this since 2018. Is that when the first contract?
Yes, sir.
Until 2024, and we haven't put out an RFP for, since then.
We have not, no, you're right.
When is your contract up?
The 31st of March.
31st of March, and now we've waited till, we're almost out of time to even do it. I don't even think you could get an RFP out there and get somebody in here that would be able to do this before when, March what?
31st.
31st. I mean, it's just the bottom line is there are some things in here that, not that I'm saying that anybody's getting taken advantage of, but the bottom line is we don't know exactly. when I first got on the board, or before I got on the board, I thought we had paid VC3 $27,000 to upgrade all this equipment. They were gonna upgrade servers. I guess the servers were never upgraded, if they need to be upgraded now. So I just think that there's some things that haven't been looked deeply into, that maybe we take a week or two and look into it and see what that contract said about upgrading servers, upgrading software, upgrading things that I don't think anybody on this board, I don't know, city manager may know, that all of this equipment that they were supposed to upgrade has been upgraded. My only concern is that we're kind of going into this blindly and with 30 days notice. Thank you.
Mr. White?
So, not your fault.
Yes.
But, as you're new to VC3 as far as coming to see with us here, I got on the board right after all this had started with VC3, where we went through a period of, I don't know how many different representatives with your company, and things may have fallen by the wayside or whatnot. We had computers that staff members were operating off of with Windows XP. We had, servers, we had servers within Windows XP, we had all kinds of issues, and specifically said in the contract, I believe, that VC3 was to upgrade and make sure all our security was up to date, any software was to be replaced as running conveyance and so on and so forth. Like I said, before my time. So with this price of computers and stuff, we buy the computers and software and you just look after it, is that correct? Or do you own the computers and take care of it, needs to be replaced?
So when we came in, I believe majority of the computers out here are owned by CREEDMOOR. There is a part of our agreement with providing computers, go with VOA seats. So if y'all have a new employee, John Doe starts tomorrow, they're gonna be a VOA user. We've got all the information we need about how they're gonna work out here. A VOA user comes with a desktop PC. So there wouldn't be a separate quote for a new VOA user. A new police officer, on the other end of their environment, they don't use a VOA. They will have to pay for a computer for us to now support that. Either way, one of those numbers is going up with a machine tied to a user that's added out here. So whether they're a VOA user or a Service Advantage user would have a quote tied with getting them a computer out here. Unless there's one existing out here that you don't want to assign them to, then that's cool too. We set it up for them.
So in looking at this, if I'm correct, so we have 32 Service Advantage support seats, so like the police cars.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
I don't think that's 32 cars.
Or 32 users.
In that department, yes, sir.
And that's $175 per computer per month.
Yes, sir.
Whether you touch it or not.
Yes, sir. That we support. That's on the network out here that.
So what's my investment for $175 per computer getting?
You're getting full user support, patches, upgrades to whatever OS is out there. I don't think there's about 6 Windows 7 machines left out here. 24/7 support by our help desk team at any moment, Christmas Day, give them a call, they're there. Monitoring on our side, we have EDR, which is Endpoint Detection Response, that we require on all machines that touch the network. That is a continuous scan. If, say, a virus starts taking over that computer, it segregates it, it cuts it off the network so it doesn't spread to other machines. A bunch of different things on the front end that you do see, and then back end stuff that you don't.
So how do the users know when it's time to upgrade or patch their computers? Do you send an email saying, hey, we need it to be on the network so we can touch it?
So we send out automated updates, patch updates regularly. I think on the patching days are on Saturday. But if like a machine isn't on during a time, it's not like they just miss the updates. These will be,
As soon as they cut the machine back on.
right, it's gonna be a continuous attempt at updating whatever patch or, update that may be out there. For ones that will require more downtime, we give heads up, and we have splash screens that pop up, say, hey, your machine will be restarted, or updates will be applied after you restart. You have like 3 more ignore attempts, until it's gonna do it.
So, I mean, you use some sort of RMN software,
Yes, sir.
and you get reports every 24 hours, or when there's a problem, you get it.
So we use ConnectWise Automate, and it's our ticketing system. Whatever gets, our help desk takes all the, I'm not sure what his sorry. But he kind of referenced it, like when a ticket gets put in, you get an email that, hey, your ticket's been created, this is your ticket number. We do updates on it, hey, your ticket's been updated, and then ultimately close, has a survey a part of it. But, yes, it's broken down into each individual user, and each individual user has a configuration that's tied to the machine they're tied to. So user submits a ticket, it automatically gets filtered under their name, under the city of Creedmoor. So
if Barbara's computer were to get some malware installed on it, your RMN software should immediately notify you of
our
that.
EDR system, yes, sir. It will segregate that machine, and it'll create a high priority ticket on our side to investigate, saying, hey, alert, we've got some issue, we need to look at it, take care of it.
Mr. Wilkins?
Yeah, I wasn't here on the board at the end of 2019. If the contract called for updates, other than patching updates, what updates were done since then?
So since 2019, so probably some operating system upgrades, to go to Windows 10. I've been working with y'all since about 2022. You would have gotten, if there wouldn't have been a Windows 7 user at the start of our, we wouldn't have given them a Windows 7 machine, so there wouldn't have been anything to update for that. But different types of patching, different types of complete 24/7 monitoring is on those machines. No alert is a good alert, so low volume on that, the better. That's touching that EDR, the Sentinel-1 software that lives on there at all times. Same thing with LabTech, that's our way of accessing the machine, monitoring disk space. If your C drive is getting really low in space, it can bog down your performance. We get a ticket on our side that says, hey, we got a C drive on somebody's machine that could potentially slow down the performance of it. Let's take a look at it and see if we can clear some up to improve the health of the machine. So little things like that come through to us and our technicians, that they can contact the user, let them know what we're seeing, get on there, schedule time, whatever, clean up what we need.
And that encompasses all the upgrades that would have been done?
Yes, sir.
Stated.
Sir, you've been listening to everything, and you've been here since most of this occurred, and probably were involved in a lot of this. I think one of the biggest questions I'm picking up from this is, was there something in the contract that our hardware and stuff was supposed to be updated by VC3 and it wasn't? Do you have an answer for any of that?
I don't. I mean, the majority of our hardware is up to date now. I know when I first started working here, I wasn't really involved in any of that, but the majority of our computers were VC3 owned. And then this decision was made, previous city manager, I know, like, once we started getting new computers over here at City Hall, like, we purchased those. I don't know why that started going that direction, but that's why so many of the computers now are owned by us. And of course, the PD laptops, we just purchased those.
So all those are owned by us. Okay, we'll just hang right there for a little bit. Mr. Albright.
I have a question. Line 10 and 17, why are they red?
So 10, I wanted to kind of highlight, just because it had quantity, that is baked into the base VOA fee now, so we don't put that as a separate line item. It's a needed service, so we put it, wasn't a part of it in 2021, we put it a part of the pricing, going forward. And then the SQL Standard 2-core license pack, so when we updated the PD servers, over, I think it was last year, like mid last year, around the fall, there was a part of it that required the SQL Standard 2.4 license pack, needed 2 of them. So that is part of that. Sarah has a change order for the current agreement. Those licenses are currently in use and something the PD actively uses. So it's not something that's on the current invoice waiting on the change order to be signed, so it can be added, but it is a part of the renewal. Yes, ma'am.
Sarah, you've been listening to pretty much what they say. Are we understanding what he's saying? Okay, I mean, not me, because I can tell you what drugs to take to not worry about any of this stuff, but I don't know anything what's going on.
Obviously, it was more technical, so it is a problem. Yes, but for the most part, as far as users, and all of that, I do understand that. And
Give us just a minute, if you would, please. Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem.
So, Sarah, you're going to stay right there because you're going to have to help me explain this one. So what is the deal with Microsoft Office 8 if you log in from someplace outside the city?
If you log in,
If you're here on a computer here, it's Microsoft Office 10. But if you are in a remote site, am I got this right?
okay, so that's the server OS. That's where VOA lives. I believe it's a 2012 server right now, which is needing to be upgraded, so it's just the OS.
Is that your server or our server?
It's the one that's here on site.
So if we switched over to your system, that would go away?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because there's no security on 8 anymore, and I'm concerned about being hacked.
Yes, so the server upgrades, like moving into our data center, we'll put you on the latest builds of the server or whatever.
So just so everybody knows, I found the documents from the last equipment upgrade that VC3 sent us when Gerald was here. It was $24,000 worth of equipment, Ethernet patches, and all kinds of stuff, and it was December of 2021. So, just so everybody has an idea of when we did this. I don't understand why in 2021 it wasn't offered to us to do fiber optics instead of $27,000 worth of equipment that we're not going to ever use again if we switch over.
I'm not sure what the 27 grand exactly is, like what was it?
There's Ethernet patches and all kinds of stuff on that list.
Okay.
They're getting ready to tell you what was on.
Actually, he's given it to you.
Our exchange servers in-house?
where's that?
Where's our server? Our exchange server is in-house?
Y'all do not have an Exchange server, no, sir. Y'all are on Office 365.
But our 365 is not in our house, it's in Microsoft's
Yes, sir.
data center. Okay.
So an Exchange, there's no need for an Exchange server. So this looks like a network refresh for like Juniper switches, some Junos. So this was just network equipment that lives out here. This isn't Spectrum equipment. This is equipment that you own that filters out internet, firewalls, from what I looked at, just off this.
We got documentation that all of those were replaced?
I can double check. If you give me a copy of this, I can double check it, but, I mean, let's see, there is a network map, somewhere here. I think there's a network map slide. of time in writing, but, so there should be some Juniper 24 port ESX 2300s in there, looks like 3 of them. I see one right there, 2 at City Hall. City Hall, one at community development, so it does look like this equipment has been upgraded. What's on here, just by looking at it, thank you, that, my eyes aren't doing too well. And, but just kind of skimming down it, yes, this stuff looks to have been a part of that 27. Yes, ma'am. I mean, we wouldn't document. But to answer your other question, I think you were talking about 2021. Fiber wasn't in the area at that time to be able to upgrade internet to the... Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you something. Do you know if it's 56 or is it just on Main Street? Firehouse.
Hey, they're in the area. I don't know. I could ask them to give me the line map, maybe. I mean, or find somebody that can kind of get it for me. But
Not much money.
I don't know.
Which one? $600 and some dollars a month.
How much Spectrum total has nothing to do with it.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
I don't understand why it was.
Okay.
Mr. Gleason,
I'm good.
Mr. Wade, Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Albright, Mr. Wilson. I think we're good.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much, Sarah. Thank you for your help.
That's fine.
All right, we'll move on to 5C, discussion on match grant contract, city manager.
This item was placed back on the agenda at the request of Commissioner Kaczynski.
So we all saw the presentation for match grants, and, in reviewing some of the stuff that we had, I thought about what we had in the grant application that we had the one lady apply for that we didn't get for our sidewalk design and stuff. In reading about and learning more about the Powell bill with the help of the finance director, I have found out that we go forward with the design on the sidewalks, with Powell bill funds, because the money's there and it must be spent. Because if you don't spend it, you lose it. And I don't want to lose it. So, in that vein, I am very impressed with the option of the match grant contract, and it's not going to inhibit the grant writer with the county at all. I think they said last night we do have the grant writer for the county, is that right? They're in the final stages or
I
something?
believe the offer's been made, they're waiting for a response.
So I would like, if the board wanted to, I would like to give Match Grant a try, give them our copy of our CIP, so they know what we would like to do, and see what they could do. It's not gonna cost us anything for them to try. But listening to that retreat last night, and listening to, we got a grant for this, and we got a grant for that, and we got a grant for this, and we got a grant for that, I would like to see a grant for a playground at the community center, perhaps, and maybe get these sidewalks done, and then Public Works might need a little bit of money, and of course, the police chief always needs money. So, I'm not throwing you under the bus. So I would like, this is not a legislative session, but I would like to see how everybody else feels about match grant, and if we all agree with it, then maybe on our next meeting, we could put it in the consent agenda to go forward and give them a try.
All right. Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes, the Mayor Pro Tem was looking for consensus. It sounds like you are, so I'd be agreeable with it.
Mr. Albright, any questions? Hopefully everybody's familiar with what we're talking about.
What all do we tell them what we are wanting to do with the grant, or what do we tell them?
We give them our CIP list,
Yes.
and
Oh,
then they use that as
okay.
a go-by to find grants for us for that.
City manager.
If the board has priorities, I would certainly like to focus on those. If it's playground at community center or others, that's the kind of direction I'd like to give those folks to search in, because the 5-year CIP's got a lot of projects on it. I wouldn't want them to pick out something 4 years down the road.
Okay, that's true, that's true.
So priorities would help me a great deal.
Well, you know, my priority is the playground, and Robertson's a splash pad, as we all heard, the entire state of North Carolina heard last night.
Okay. So
What is yours?
I'm still shooting for the mayor to get a Corvette for company car, but we'll work on that later. Anything else you want to throw in here? Commissioner Gleason, any questions or comments?
Well, I hope that we found a grant writer and get it from the county. My problem with these grant writing companies is, especially if we're going for big grants, let's say sidewalks. We're gonna get a $3 million grant for sidewalks. They're gonna wind up getting probably 300 grand out of it for getting us that contract. If the county grant writer gets it, he may get a 1% perk or something or none. So, again, that's my only concern. Small grants, not a problem. You get a $6 million grant, you're giving them people 10% of it, which is a lot of money that the town's gotta come up with then to make that a reality. So that's my only concern about that.
And it won't be 10% of that grant, it would be 10% out of the fund balance, because you can't use grant money to pay for that service.
Mr. Way, any comments or questions? All right, based on this, I'm gonna assume we can at least put this on the agenda for the legislative session. We'll determine a little later on if we want it in consent or the other way. But we'll have it on the agenda. All right, let's see. Match grant, that was there. Match grant, okay. 5D, Public Works request to purchase a track skid steer with Powellville funds. Mr. Edwards, I believe that's you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening. Long time no see. Just kidding. It's Steve Edwards, Public Works Director for the City of Creedmoor. Glad to be here tonight. Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for listening to me tonight with this request that I have. You just mentioned the Powellville. I think what prompted us having to spend money with growth. When you reach a certain population, then that triggers changes. Anyway, so tonight I'm here before you to ask, could we contribute to being an in-kind portion to perhaps these grants that you're talking about? And by that, I mean, our small team is more effective based on the equipment that we have, let's be honest. And this piece of equipment here is an allowable purchase through the Powellville program, as long as we're doing maintenance, construction, anything to do with roads, Powellville streets, right-of-ways. We're gonna use it for that. Pushing snow, what we would use it for is shaving shoulders where water holds up in these areas that don't have curb and gutter. We could also use it for forming, because the bucket width is perfect for forming a sidewalk with 2 form boards it's 74 inches, but a 5 foot is your commercial width sidewalk. And so I'm just asking for authorization for the city manager to take funding that's available in the Powellville fund budgeted this year, and to authorize the purchase through Sourcewell contract to the Tractor Center for a brand new skid steer. And I think on your item here, it lists the manufacturer's price minus our discount through Sourcewell to your final price, including the clamshell bucket of $70,000. And I'm just here, not very polished, but able to answer any questions that you have.
Is there any
about
questions?
Request or anything that you'd like to talk about.
One thing I've looked at the pictures and talked to Steve about this a little bit, is the fact that we can use this for sidewalks, and we would have areas that, as an example, out here down Sanderford Street, that we could put in the sidewalks ourselves from here down to Main, which would save us a bunch of money from bringing somebody in.
Really?
So, you know, it's, we can hit and miss, we can replace sidewalks that we need to, if we need to, without having to pull some big company in here to do it. Plus, we can also put that thing out for snow removal if we need to, especially on some of these smaller roads. So,
And this week, we're getting ready to repair a section of sidewalk on Bill Street. This particular piece of equipment would assist us in that endeavor. And it's a Powell bill eligible expense.
and again, we want to use this Powell bill money.
We do have gravel roads that are part of our Powell bill as well. Not quite a mile, but almost a mile. That this would be helpful for maintaining those as well.
Commissioner Way?
Does this come with an attachment for like a brush?
I'm glad you asked. The attachment that we're requesting, first of all, is the 4-in-1 bucket. That's not a 4-in-1, it's one that opens and closes.
Right.
I have a list here of attachments that are through Sourcewell that we could purchase at a later time. Just as an example, they have to get those through Land Pride, which is the manufacturer. The most expensive request that I asked for was a street saw attachment, but it's $21,000. That's a big street saw. I mean, we can rent something like that. But like, your pallet forks, you've got brush cutters, brush cutter, like a bush hog attachment for it, you've got an auger, there's all types of attachments. I've got a brochure here, I'll be glad to
Are these, the attachments you're talking about, are they coming with this, or they're ones that we can order at a later date?
Separate purchase.
No, sir.
Okay, that's what we're
The
wondering.
base machine without any attachments is that one price in here. And then, of course, the 4-in-1 bucket that we're getting is $53.89 for a total purchase of $70. Each attachment has its own individual price, which we could ask for in future requests. Just not this year's through the Powell Bill program. We can or cannot pay for future attachments through this, however you choose to fund it.
Well, Mayor Pro Tem wants to know if we can ride in that in the parade.
It only has one seat, so
Well, we were talking about the bucket.
we do have a trailer that you guys provided for us for our mini excavator that this will accommodate. But for instance, the skid cutter that cuts stuff up to 8 inches, which is pretty big, if you were to want to go out and cut the lagoon site, let's say, which we had talked about that, is $7,000. That's a big cutter though. That was one of the more expensive ones that I priced. Forks, I mean, it has all types of attachments.
All right.
Would we have any use for like the bush hog attachment or the easement areas and stuff that we're responsible for? Would that be more beneficial to help you out?
Right now, we have the one that goes on the John Deere that's out to the side here.
Right.
And certain places where you have to reach to a certain point, we have broke hoses because of the extent.
This would be a lot.
This would be a lot better if you get the high tracks, because the back tracks are higher than the front.
Absolutely.
Which means it gives you stability on incline. So,
Gives us options. That's good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions? Mayor Pro Tem?
So you could drive this down the sidewalk and if it was snow?
it has rubber tracks and so it won't hurt unlike metal tracks, which you don't want to drive, out on asphalt if you can help, but you need to put down the big 2x12 boards and right over them. If you've seen them, these won't damage sidewalks, and I say won't damage sidewalks. Now,
Unless you hit it, I got that.
Certain ways you turn it, you don't want to do certain things on it, and it will on a hot day tear asphalt up, depending on how you drive it.
So Steve, who trains your staff on these?
The ITRI, LTAP, North Carolina State
Okay.
University has a local transportation assistance program, Institute for Traffic Research Education. And they have operator forces. Right now, we have 2 certified operators on staff. We have one that's undergoing some seat time. There's a certain portion that's, the study portion, and then you have some time you have to spend in the seat.
Okay.
So we have operators already right now for it.
Any other
Typically,
questions?
we would rent something like this. If we had a need to say form sidewalks down, like you just mentioned, down Sanford, we would probably rent it for a week, to allow for weather, and then you've got the delivery fee of $175, pickup fee $170, and then the rental for the machine would be close to $1,000 a week. So I'm just saying, it's something we would rent. Now we won't have to rent, we'll have one.
Storage for it?
Yes,
And you're assuring us, basically from what I understand, that we save money by buying this.
yes, sir, absolutely. It's only a tool to an already, good qualified team, but a small team. The more tools that we have, the more, extended, palette of services that we can offer to our residents. If that makes sense to you. I mean, it's just more things that would enable us to do.
Any other questions?
Not to mention your in-kind portion of grants. Now, that's the part that we can contribute if you have an in-kind allowance for labor and for things that we can do in-house. Turn it in to Mr. Baines here, and he can count that as an in-kind contribution instead of cash.
Okay. Commissioner Wilkins?
Statement, Steve, you said you weren't polished, you were plenty polished for us. Thank you.
I'd rather be out cutting a ditch or weed eating this stuff.
Me too. Commissioner Albright?
I'm looking forward to you getting the sidewalk done. I had asked Mike about that, so I'm excited about that, and Marcy will be excited about it too. She parks there, so she'll be happy her heels aren't sticking down in all the
We
gravel.
coordinated it with them to make sure it was the least
I know.
impact to the patient
Yeah, that's good.
and the financial advisors on the end.
I'd like to make a motion for us to put this on the next agenda.
Well, what I'd like to do is correct
Do it
that.
now.
Usually we don't do motions at work sessions, but I'd like to go ahead and approve this tonight. So if you'd like to make a motion, if you look at your, on page 48, should just be the next page.
That motion to approve the purchase.
All right, that includes track skid steer, Sourcewell equipment, line item power bill we have in the power bill expenditure guidance. We have a motion by Commissioner Albright. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. I'm sorry. Mayor Pro Tem, your light didn't come on.
Sarah, do we have a bow big enough to put on this when it gets delivered to Steve? Okay.
All right. We have any other questions or comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. Mr. City Manager, if you will get that taken care of.
Thank you on behalf of.
Merry Christmas, Steve.
Thank you, and, you'll see us out there delivering stuff. Thank you again.
Let's see, that takes care of Public Works. We move on to 5E. I'm getting my agenda mixed up here. 5E, Downtown Appearance District, Mayor Pro Tem.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an issue that has been on my mind for quite some time, and I believe that several of the commissioners have joined me on this idea. We had a visitor come into the city and look at the Main Street downtown area and make a very, very derogatory comment to the city about why does downtown look the way it does. And I look at downtown, and now that I've got this agenda in front of me and know that we have ordinances in place, we have got awnings that are rotting. We have awnings that are filthy. We have signs that are faded. We have lights hanging down underneath the walkway into one of our buildings. And I personally am getting sick and tired of looking at it. And didn't know we had a appearance ordinance, but now that I know that we do, I would like it enforced strictly to all the building owners or businesses on Main Street. There are several building owners who have come to me personally, and their buildings are maintained well. They power wash their awnings, they keep their buildings looking nice, the front of their buildings and everything else, and they are complaining that others are not, and they're right. So I am asking that the code enforcement officer, don't know why it hasn't been done up to this point, get serious about the conditions of the awnings on Main Street. We have a facade grant program. If you need a new awning, if you need some help power washing your building, if you need some help painting your building, come to the Community Development Office and we will give you an application where you can apply for 50% of your cost. But Main Street looks bad in some areas and I want it all cleaned up. We have new businesses moving in on Main Street and they are not, they're overshadowed by these other places. And I'm tired of looking at it this way. I want pride and ownership. I've said this at every single meeting so far this year. I want it in the homes, I want it in the businesses, I want it on Main Street, I want it on every street in Creedmoor. Pride and ownership, mow your grass, keep your building looking nice. There's a building on Main Street that's got more green mold on it than I can imagine, and they're not being power washed. Power wash it, paint it. Come to the city, come to the Community Development Office, tell us what you want to do the application, we will work with you. We don't want to cause anybody any hardship, we want to work with you. But Main Street needs to look inviting. We have two new businesses on Main Street that are doing very well so far from what I understand. All the existing buildings on Main Street, as far as I know, are still doing well. We've got merchandise laying out everywhere, and we have an ordinance in place to stop this, and it needs to be stopped. And I am asking the city manager to instruct the zone enforcement officer to please start enforcing these ordinances on the building owners or shop owners or whoever it is on Main Street. Let's get these buildings cleaned up. And on a lighter note, we're doing another decorating contest for storefronts on Main Street or storefronts in Creedmoor. It's called the Spring Fling. It's been on Facebook. There will be a prize awarded, and hopefully I will get time to deliver flyers to every single business on Main Street or every business in the city limits of Creedmoor so that everybody can participate. Let's bring some life back into this community. People are trying to help. People are trying to grow their business. Let us all do our part to help that happen. That's my soapbox. I'm done.
All right, Commissioner Way, any questions or comments? Commissioner Gleason.
Yeah, I can't disagree at all with Commissioner Kaczynski's. I guess I'm a little mystified, and I didn't know that we had a ordinance that allowed for that. I know when people get a facade grant, now with our new program, they sign an easement agreement, which then gives us the right to say, we paid for that awning, it looks like, good, change it. But I don't know if we could go to the green building and say, it's green, it should be blue, or you have mold. I don't know if we have an ordinance, we maybe should have an ordinance if the state doesn't prohibit that kind of thing. In that where, like I said, people that get a grant sign an easement agreement which says if that building looks bad in less than so many years, you gotta fix it or give us back our money. So that would be my only question. I do think we should have some kind of an ordinance like that. If we can and need to move that way, I would be for that 100%.
Me too.
Commissioner Albright.
Oh, no, I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Wilkins?
No, sir.
All right. All right, we'll go from there. Next item is the facade improvement program, FIP 2023-01, Sunnyside on Main Street. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The facade improvement program, Sunnyside on Main, we received a request from Mr. Dennis Pelletier, the proprietor, with the property owner's consent, who's Mr. Joel Fanera. We received the application for reimbursement for 50% of his cost of the project, which would be $750. If the board wishes to proceed with this, you may recall these funds were cut out of the budget, the last budget cycle. It would require a budget amendment, which would be budget amendment number 7, to identify $750 for us to transfer into this line. And if we get another request from another business on Main Street, we'll do the same there. So, and this is a 10-year agreement. It was prepared by Mr. Kevin Hornick, who is on the line with us. If you have...
Hi, Kevin.
Went to sleep.
Okay, so Kevin is just joining us. There he is. Hey, Kevin.
Good evening.
So, Kevin, we just got to the part where you prepared a maintenance easement agreement. And,
Yes, you all should have received, earlier this morning, a revised building maintenance easement agreement. I received comments from both Commissioner Wilson and Commissioner Kuczynski. Those comments have been incorporated into, this latest draft. Essentially what this is, as you all may recall, we got from our discussions regarding the revamp of the side improvement grant program. What this easement is essentially the city's acquisition of right of access to the front facade of the property. This kind of gives the city something tangible that is received in exchange for the reimbursement funds under the facade improvement program, which kind of helps kind of underpin the city's authority to make these reimbursements and these payments. What the agreement does is it, first and foremost, it allows the city to enter onto the property to perform maintenance work in the event that the property owner or a future property owner fails to maintain the property to its current standard. And this is what the facade improvement program does generally, beyond the scope of this easement, is allows the city to use zone enforcement authority to require the property owner to maintain the front facade. So, I know that none of those code enforcement issues have been a hot topic lately. So this program allows both to use the CDO to enforce kind of the maintenance of the front facade. And this maintenance easement agreement first allows the city to pay the property owner with the applicant for reimbursement for a portion of the their cost to upfit the facade. It also gives the city the right access to the building facade if that's needed.
Any questions for city attorney? Kevin, we appreciate it.
Yes, not a problem. Happy to help.
Mayor Pro Tem, I believe, has a question.
So Kevin, do we have an easement agreement for everybody on Main Street? Because what I understand what you just said is it allows the city to go in and make repairs on the property, but we have sidewalks in front of every one of these stores that is city property. So I'm not understanding why this easement agreement is needed at this time. Is it just for the facade grant issue, or is it a general easement issue?
Yeah, this is for the facade improvement program. If you all recall, sometimes we had several quite lengthy discussions about the city's authority to just give money away, essentially for nothing, under the city's facade improvement grant program. And ultimately, what we discussed was that if the city wants to give money to individual property owners, the city has to receive something in exchange. There's got to be, a bargain exchange. And so what y'all decided ultimately was that, you wanted to pursue a program where a property owner or applicant would undertake certain improvements to their facade. They would apply to the city for reimbursement for, 50% of their expenses up to that certain dollar figure cap. And in exchange for granting that reimbursement, the city will acquire a property interest in the facade of the building. So that one, the city is getting something of value in exchange for the money, which helps kind of reinforce the legality of the arrangement. And two, it allows the city to guarantee that the facade of this building will be maintained up to, its current improved state. If the current property or future property allows it to, the facade to degrade over time, the city has the right to enter on the property, and by the property, I mean the facade of the building, to repair it, clean up, as needed.
So, the, Creedmoor Code of Ordinance, Chapter 156, which is the community appearance, was adopted in 2010. I mean, you wrote this and you said that it's very detailed. I don't know if you wrote it or if Mike Frangos wrote it, but it's very detailed and specific about potential violations related to blight, state of disrepair, and the appearance of all structures. How do these two work together? Because if we have this, why do we need something else? That's what I'm asking.
We have this program that we're talking about with the easement because you all as board directed us to work out ways that the city could pay money to property owners to improve the appearance of their facade.
I'm good with that.
The city code makes certain conditions on property a violation of the city code, for which the city can take code enforcement action. Always has. The city's always had that. But this facade improvement program is entirely, they are not wed together, they are not complementary pieces, they are two entirely distinct, regulatory, structures.
So it's not like we're giving them money to improve their property, for nothing. There's a responsibility that comes with it. It's just not, we don't just hand out money to improve somebody's property with tax dollars. This easement makes them liable back to us to maintain it, and so it's kind of like a quid pro quo to a certain extent.
Yeah, well, what this easement does, so if you recall, we talked about this before, the city, when it comes to police power violations on your, so when it comes to code enforcement issues like Chapter 156, the city has the authority to update the violation, fix it or correct it on its own, only after the city files a lawsuit, goes to court, gets a judgment, in order to pay them. Right?
Right.
So what this facade improvement program allows the city to do is to pay money to qualifying property owners. And then if that property falls into violation either of the facade improvement program, which is codified in Chapter 14 of the CDO, or if, which likely would also be a violation of Chapter 156 of the city code, the city now does not have to go through that, that court justice process. The city now can just enter onto the property because the city, and I know I keep using that phrase, enter onto the property, but the city can access the facade of the building without any notice to the property owner, because the city has the easement and property interest in the facade.
Okay.
So if in the future, using this property as an example, if the current owner or tenant of 211 North Main Street or some future owner or tenant allows the facade to fall into disrepair, the city could and probably should under those circumstances, issue notice of violation under chapter 14 of the CBO and also chapter 156 of the city code. And if the property owner does not voluntarily comply within a certain period of time, the city could just go onto go to the property, hire a contractor, and fix up the stuff, and that's the end of the story. The city could still go to court to collect any outstanding civil penalties that might accrue, but the city would not have to wait on that litigation process in order to actually see some physical change or improvement to the facade.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you drafted this. It's going to help us going forward. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, not a problem.
Any other questions for Kevin? Not hearing any, not seeing any. Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate it. At this time, I'm going to entertain two motions. We're going to do these separately. The first one is the motion to approve the budget amendment number 7 for $750 reimbursement for facade improvement program grant.
So moved.
Motion is made by the Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Second motion is to execute a 10-year building maintenance easement agreement with property owner of 209 North Main Street and authorize the city manager to reimburse 50% or $750 of the applicant's facade improvements. Motion, please.
I motion that we approve.
What I just read.
Yes.
Motion is made by Commissioner Gleason. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. One of the reasons we're adding this on is because I've had a conversation, I'm sure some of y'all have, that this gentleman would like to get this taken care of as soon as possible, and that just took care of that. All right, moving along, we go to 5G, which I believe is Mr. Wilkins' tax evaluation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason I asked for this to be put on the agenda, over the last 5 or 6 days, I received a number of communications via phone calls, texts, emails about the reevaluation of the county. And in all cases, they all certainly understood there was going to be a reevaluation, but were shocked about the amount on their homes. The lowest one I was quoted was $50,000. I had a few said their home went up $135,000. I had two in Pecan Hill said their home went up $180,000. And I had one constituent just the other day told me their home went up $225,000. And in fact, when speaking to a realtor, the realtor told them they could not in fact sell their home for what has been reevaluated. So what I'm asking as we go into our budget meetings, that we would keep in mind to take care of our citizens, looking at our city tax rate, and make sure they can indeed be revenue neutral.
Mr. Albright, any questions or comments?
No, sir. Other than I've had some of the same comments and phone calls.
Yeah, I think we all have.
While I was out walking too.
Commissioner Gleason.
Yeah, I think probably to get this kind of explained, I think the city manager probably might have a little more insight on how the law works, that when you raise an assessment after 3 years or 4 years, or here it hadn't been 8, that when the tax value of the house doubles, that doesn't mean you can collect more tax from that taxpayer. So in other words, if you just took an exact numbers, if we had exact numbers, we don't know what our budget's gonna be, and I'm not gonna say that your taxes might not go up. I will tell you, your taxes would not double. But if you paid $200 in tax on a $200,000 house, and the budget remained the same this year as last year, you would pay the same amount of money, your tax rate would be cut in half. So there's no way that a city or a municipality or the county can take this reevaluation and just collect double tax. By law, the city has to prove that it makes equal value for equal value. I don't know if Mike can maybe explain it a little clearer.
I've had this conversation with our finance director, and I'm gonna ask him to make his way to the podium. we're required by law to publish the, revenue neutral tax rate, which will, I'm gonna just ask, Lee, if you will, speak to this item.
Yes, so North Carolina General Statute, 159-11E states that each time a reval is done in a county, the municipality, the budget officer must calculate what is called the revenue neutral tax rate, in which that rate generates the same amount of revenue before a reval was completed. General statutes just says that revenue neutral tax rate must be publicized to the citizens. So when the budget message is presented to you all and for the citizens, hearing, they have that chance during the public hearing to voice their opinions about that tax rate. So that is, it forms that transparency that they see what that tax rate is. General statute only says that it must be publicized. So when we start having our budget discussion, I will present to you all that revenue neutral tax rate, plus what 1 cent generates in ad valorem tax revenue for the city. And you all, we can kind of adjust it based, and like you said, once we start getting to see what our actual budget is, what the request is for the upcoming fiscal year, we see what that gap is for fund balance, and you kind of can base it based on where the needs for the city.
Mr. Gleason, again, everybody has different ways of learning and tactile experience. Just so that the taxpayers know that the city can't use your reassessment to collect a whole lot more tax from you than they need. The bottom line is, if nothing changed on our budget, and our budget amount was exactly the same for the 2025 budget as it was for the 2024 budget, your tax would be cut in half to stay revenue neutral. There may be some things that we add to the budget, but
Not really.
okay.
It all depends on what the city decides to adopt as the tax rate in the upcoming fiscal year. The city has every right to keep the tax rate the same if they choose. My job and the city manager's job is to present to you all and present it to the citizens what that revenue neutral tax rate is that would generate the same amount of revenue pre-reval. But the tax rate determines what the citizen tax bill will be in the upcoming year. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Wilkins.
So at that point, we can make a decision if we want to cut the tax rate for our citizens, which is why I initiate this conversation.
And we will have to cut it by law, wouldn't we, if we had to keep revenue neutral?
Not by law. The general statute says it just has to be publicized. And I can read it, I brought the PowerPoint from the retreat that I read out the general statute word for word. So, if you mind.
Yes, please, go ahead.
So, North Carolina General Statute 159-11E states, in each year in which a general reappraisal of real property has been conducted, the budget officer shall include in the budget, for comparison purposes, a statement of the revenue neutral property tax rate for the budget. The revenue neutral property tax rate is the rate that is estimated to produce revenue for the next fiscal year equal to the revenue that would have been produced for the next fiscal year by the current tax rate if no reappraisal had occurred. To calculate the revenue neutral tax rate, the budget officer shall first determine a rate that will produce revenues equal to those produced for the current fiscal year, and then increase the rate by a growth factor equal to the average annual percentage increase in the tax base due to improvements since the last general reappraisal. The growth factor represents the expected percentage increase in the value of the tax base due to improvements during the next fiscal year. The budget officer shall further adjust the rate to account for any annexation, de-annexation, merger, or similar event, so that where it talks about the annual growth factor included into that revenue neutral tax rate. That's basically taking the tax base from the last reevaluation to the current one and getting that average and adding that to the revenue neutral tax rate. So 1 year annual growth factor is included into that revenue neutral tax rates for any improvements that the city may need. Like I said, you can adjust it wherever you see fit is needed for the city.
But it's a board decision.
It's a board decision, yes, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner Wilkins.
And that's what I was gonna say, not by law, but as a board, we should look strongly at adjusting it.
So doing your budget work session, budget conversations, when the budget message is presented to you, I will present to you all that revenue neutral tax rate and the discussions can begin. I believe in the document that city manager passed out, it shows what 1 cent generates in average on tax revenue.
Commissioner Albright.
Lee, whenever the county has their, meetings about their budgets, do they also consider the same thing, the revenue neutral?
They have to.
They have
They have to publicize it, just like every municipality and city, because it's by law.
So they don't go exactly with the amount that everybody's assessment was, the 74%.
So they're gonna use their tax base and calculate what that revenue neutral, tax rate would be for them and their budget, on the county side, and they will publicize it throughout in their budget message, what that rate is and with that annual growth factor, and they decide how they see fit. I don't know probably what their process might be, step by step on how he's gonna do it, their team.
Yeah. So what, we all got a letter saying what our taxes were reevaluated as.
No, what our property value.
What our property value,
Not our
yeah, our property value, sorry. So they send that out, then what's, I guess I'm trying to say, what's next?
It said in the letter, they'll let us know in May.
Yeah, so the next step is adoption of the tax rate, which is gonna be before July 1st, whenever their date they set to adopt their budget. And therefore, when the tax bills come out, it will reflect that new tax rate, whatever they decide.
Whatever they agree on.
One thing let me mention before I go to the Mayor Pro Tem, based on this sheet, city manager has given us, and just for the public's information, City of Creedmoor's tax history in 2015 was 70 cents on the 100. In 2019-2020, it was 61.5 cents on the 100, and that was during COVID. So that was when we kept our tax rate at the same. And as of 2024, it's 61.5 cents per 100. And the county's, like I said, is 84 cents. The boards that I've been on since 2017 have worked real hard in the budget cycle to keep our tax rate as low as we felt comfortable providing for our citizens. And I'm sure with this board that we will do our best to do the same thing. I know y'all are concerned, and we're going to do the best we could. Even if there hadn't been a reevaluation, we're going to do the best we can. Mayor Pro Tem.
You stole my thunder.
Every once in a while, I get one step ahead of it.
You would need to stop. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say. In 2015, the tax rate was 70 cents, and in 2016, it was lowered. 2017, it was lowered. 2018, it was lowered. In 2019, it was lowered. And it hasn't been changed since then. So, like the mayor said, we have worked real hard to stay within the budget that we have without raising rates for taxes for anybody. And we're gonna do everything we can not to do it again, but the citizens of the city want more than the money that we have sometimes. And we try to work around it. If it takes 2 years to get it done instead of this year, we'll do it. But we have already stopped the stormwater fee increase in our retreat. We stopped that because we knew this eval was coming and we don't know what the county's gonna do. So the problem that I see is that the county decides at the same time we decide. The letter that they sent us to us said we would have an answer in May. Well, their budget goes into effect the end of June and starts in July like ours does. I'm hoping they will tell us sooner rather than later so that we all have an idea, because our citizens are our concern.
Anybody else? Commissioner Way, I haven't heard from you. Anything?
Everybody stole my thunder.
All right.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 5H. Commissioner Albright, what day of the year can you not be here?
Did I say August? It would be the work session, August 19th.
I'm glad you can plan that far ahead.
I kind of have to with work.
I think that's the 18th, hold on.
19th,
It's the 19th.
yeah.
Yeah, that's that Monday. So just
Make
make
the
a
motion that Commissioner Albright be excused from the August 19th work session.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to excuse Commissioner Albright. Any discussion?
No, she's gotta be here. She's gotta be here, she can't.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We will miss you.
Thank you.
All right, we move now to item 5I, which is Mr. Way, the Elm Street repair, CREEDMOOR Volunteer Fire Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is in reference to the contract that was entered with the DOT and the city of Creedmoor, for the repair work that was done on Elm Street. It was for the cost of 3 masonry interconnection drain boxes, 150 foot of 18-inch drain pipe apron milling and resurfacing that was shared between the DOT, the Volunteer Fire Department, and the city of Creedmoor for a total project estimate of $91,342.48. The reason that I'm bringing this up is we still currently have a volunteer fire service. It is, it's great that we still have volunteers out there to answer the call. I don't believe that this is a burden that the fire department should take on to pay the $22,835.62, even though we entered into the contract. And my reason behind that is most of the work that was done was for this interconnection drain box and the drain pipe that was in front of the fire station. We just were the beneficiaries at the fire department to get the whole apron repaved, which is great because it's better for the trucks to go in and out of the station. Having that said, I think it falls in line with anything else that we've done recently with drain construction and utility work in other areas of the city. And I would like to reimburse the fire department the $22,835.62.
Kevin, you with us?
I am indeed.
There you are.
The main question I have on this is that we entered a contract with the volunteer fire department. It was agreed upon by the city and the leadership of the fire department. It is on their property that we did this, and from my understanding, we have already received the payment.
Yes, sir, we received a payment today dated last Friday.
So my question is there any legal issues involved with the request that Commissioner Way has making? Since it's an improvement on basically private property.
No, so I don't see any reason why the city could not refund the fire department and effectively bear the entire cost, or at least the city's entire responsible share for the cost necessary to DOT. That's a proper expenditure of public funds. It's expected to improve the stormwater drainage situation. It's also kind of facilitate the provision of fire service to the community. So I would see legal reasons why the city could not bear that entire burden or cost on its own. I think really the question is a policy question. You know, does the city want to, refund the fire department for money paid under a contract that the two parties will be entering into? And that's why y'all get paid sick on that.
Mr. City Attorney, could this cost come out of, stormwater improvement funds?
No.
Since it was drainage?
That's a question that I don't know if I can answer for you right now. I think it's possible.
No.
But it's something that I would want to look into, a little bit more carefully before I give you a firm,
I don't know if the light went off or not.
I'm on 1 minute when you get there.
Go ahead.
Information just for the board to catch y'all up. This project was not budgeted for the city to do this. The project came in at $92,000. DOT was unable to go into a contract with the fire department because they're 501c3, so the city stepped up to take this 50-50 share with DOT of $46,000 each. And a further agreement was made sharing 25% of that 46 for $23,000 for the city and $23,000 for the fire department, which we just received a check for yesterday. We didn't have funds budgeted for this, but we can cover $23,000 of our share from stormwater. We also had to use $23,000 from other lines that must be replaced. So if this is reimbursed, we will have to do a budget amendment to cover that cost for us because we used it until we got the funds to replace it from the fire department. That's a little bit of history on it.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Kevin, so if the city of Creedmoor is authorized to foot the bill for private property renovations, I've got a ditch in my yard that needs to be repaired. So I'll just send the bill to the city. This is private, this was not just stormwater. This is not just a storm drain repair. This was paving the apron by the DOT. So I have probably had a conversation with the finance director that this money cannot come out of Powell bill funds. It doesn't qualify. So if the city's allowed to improve someone's property with taxpayer dollars, explain that one to me, because I'm a little confused.
I think that's a gross mischaracterization of what's going on here.
Have you seen the apron?
Is the apron for a fire department that serves the city was repaid. That is certainly providing a public benefit insofar as it reduces wear and tear on fire engines coming in and out of the station, fire engines which were paid for using state funds previously, as opposed to a ditch being repaired on a piece of private property that does not provide any public benefit whatsoever. So I don't think that the comparison that you're drawing is a fact-based, comparison.
Okay.
There is no doubt about it that improving or repaving the apron at the fire station has a significant public benefit that is simply not present when you're contemplating repaving a private driveway in private or doing some other improvement to a private, residential property or commercial property.
So, the fire department, what did it take, 2.5 years for that fire truck to come in, the ladder truck? It took a while, right? So, in the 2.5 years that they knew that fire truck was coming in and that pavement was uneven, what did the fire department do to reach out to the DOT to get that repaired? Nothing. They came to our retreat 1 year and told us about it. And I, personally, contacted the DOT and asked Russ May to assist me, and then we got Mike Turner in. If we didn't do that, that apron would still be exactly the way it was. When the bill came in and the fire department couldn't engage, or DOT couldn't engage in a contract with the fire department because they're a nonprofit, the city stepped in and said, we'll do the contract. The city has done everything that they can do to help. When the discussion about paying half of their half came up, where there was a consensus on the board, and I believe at that point Kevin had the contract drawn up or was going to draw up the contract. This board voted unanimously for that contract. And you voted for it. So why would you vote for us to only pay half of their half? And now you're coming back to the board and saying, I changed my mind, I want something else. Robert, I'm not picking on you. I'm saying, when I joined this board in 2019, there was a board here that got the reputation of being wishy-washy. They couldn't make up their mind. Don't worry about any contract they go to. They'll never stick to it. And we have come far from that point. I understand what you're saying about the fire department, but if we didn't have to give them a dime, we did not. They could have dealt with the DOT on their own, but we did it we helped them. Next year, they're going to get a lot of money in the budget because of the reeval. They brought us the money. They apparently had the money. I understand they provide a service to the community. I'm not saying that. I have been one of the biggest champions for the fire department. And Ed knows because Ed has sat through, and Bobby knows because they've sat through me fighting for this fire department for 5 years. But I think this is beyond. We paid $3,000 for the Christmas dinner, which again wasn't in the budget, and the city manager has had to move heaven and earth to make these things happen. We've changed the amount of money we give them. They used to get $152,000 from the city. Last year they got over $200,000. Next year they're going to get over $400,000. I understand they need equipment. I understand that there's a fire commission in the county now. They are getting more financial help than they've ever had in their life. And as far as safety equipment, which I know they have, I understand that they'll always need more. There'll always be more. They'll always need it. But I do not agree to contradict a contract that we all unanimously agreed on to have them pay a share of that money when they didn't do anything to help themselves. I love the fire department, I'm all for them, but they didn't do anything to help themselves. If it wasn't for the city, that apron still would not be fixed.
Mr. Wilkins.
There's been a lot of points and counterpoints, but I'd like to see exactly what the fire department is going to get next year for me to make an intelligent decision in writing. So I would say let's table this until a date the board considers and bring it back up and go from there.
Commissioner White.
So it's my turn to have a rebuttal on this. And my thing about it is the fire department is now comprised of roughly 30 individuals that are volunteers that get up in the middle of the night to serve this community. We do that because we have a goal to serve the citizens of here. We operate on what funds that are given to us by the city and by the county, and they are well underfunded. I'm not saying that the city has increased graciously of what they have offered, which they have done. But however, those fire trucks, I don't drive the fire truck home and it doesn't sit in my driveway for my kids to play on. It sits in that fire station ready to respond to any emergency for the citizens of CREEDMOOR. And to your point, we have emails from where we did contact the DOT. However, they don't respond to volunteer firefighters as fast as they do people with a little bit of authority. So we had to go and get information from other individuals to get the city involved in what we're doing. Yes, the apron was in disrepair and needed to be repaired. However, I don't see where the fire department's responsibility was the drainage that ran underneath the apron in the front to the box at the corner of Elm Street. I don't see where that's the city of, the fire department's responsibility for that drainage box at the corner.
It's not the city's either, it belongs to DOT.
So, I don't, we want the fire department, and yes, I did vote on that contract, but you know what, I'm not a politician, I'm just like anybody else out here that was elected to serve and be a voice for anyone else. I got a letter just like everybody else did about their property, I don't know, I've gotta get answers out just like anyone else does. But the fact is, we as a city are investing in to make sure the equipment gets out of the station. We are investing to make sure it doesn't get tore up getting in and out of the fire station. We just took $22,000 from the fire department that's gonna buy 2 air packs. So now we're gonna have to figure out a way to give them more money. Yeah, it's an ever-changing process. Unfortunately, that's the way the equipment is. It's a volunteer fire service. We're not a multi-million-dollar municipality that can put in a budget to get this type of stuff. We have to depend on grants and individuals like ourselves that are level-headed, that can make decisions, especially when we're in a position financially where the citizens of Creedmoor had paid into all these funds that we have to get this equipment and make sure that our department is there to respond. And I understand where you're coming from. I'm not trying to be wishy-washy. It's just, I just feel in my heart that this particular paving and alignment of the drain system and everything shouldn't be a burden that the fire department should have paid, even though I agree in the contract for them to do it. But we just took $22,000 from a volunteer fire department to pay the city of Creedmoor for something that should have been taken care of by the DOT to begin with.
Commissioner Wilkins.
I think everybody knows what I think about the fire department. I'm the one that pushed for the ladder truck back in 2018 against some odds. And the following board was able to get it through. But again, I would just like to look at the financials for next year. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table this.
We have a motion to table this and.
Isn't this a discussion time, not we make
It
decisions that?
is, but I'm wanting to make sure that it's brought back. This is basically to put it on the next agenda. To table this until the next meeting. Kevin, if you would though, double check on that for the Powell bill funds. I hate for you to have to work for all that money you make, but I'm sorry, stormwater fees. But, check on that for us. Anyway, we have a motion to table. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? No. So what did we get? 3-2?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 3-2. That will put it on the next agenda, which will be the March legislative meeting. And that time, Kevin, you probably should be able to give me an answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, all the financials, I guess, from the league.
Yeah.
So we can answer.
Finding which is which. Commissioner Gleason.
I have a question, and Kevin's gone.
No, he's there.
He's there. He's just off the screen.
We have a work session meeting where we're going to discuss things that would be put on the next legislative meeting. And in the middle of a discussion, next week would be the time to table it. You don't want to go through with it. Every commissioner on this seat should have their word on the discussion before it's tabled. Or what do we do when we come to our legislative meeting? Start over?
We will have more facts at that particular point. We can still have a discussion. It can still be moved to another time. I actually was watching my light. I did not see any other lights up, so that's why I went with the motion to table. And yes, that is something I can do.
No, I'm not arguing with you.
And had I known you wanted to say something, I would have recognized you. But like I said, those lights weren't flashing, so. All right, anything else to be brought before the board tonight?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion is made by Commissioner Gleason to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0.
Now you can go. Bye, Kevin.
Aye.
Bye, Kevin.
But Ed. ahead. I do apologize, because I try not to miss anybody. And that's why I had these lights, so I could,
I mean, I just wanted to do a little more than Robert.
yeah.
And mea culpa for my vote was wrong the last time.
Who are those people in the front of this commission? Who are these people? Those are the ones that have been sending us all those messages that live down the street to me, and I can never remember their names. You know what I'm talking about?
No, but I'm good with that. Yeah, that's enough answer for me.
Yeah, we all got that. I don't know. See if I can find it on my email.